Hi there, I'm Andrew, you're watching ThatGamerAjax, and for today's video I just wanted to be a little bit more candid when it comes to sci-fi tabletop role-playing game, Veil of the Void. Now, we've discussed a little bit about the game itself, we have talked through the different species that you can play, we've talked through the different classes, but I wanted to come to you and talk to you as a game master what it's like to actually run this game and what you can expect. I also want to highlight some of the mistakes that I've made over the past, about a year and a half with a campaign that I've been running, so that way you don't follow in the same steps that I did. So let's go ahead and dive right on into this. So first and foremost, something that you need to know with Veil is that your players are going to be a lot stronger than you can actually kind of picture. I come largely from a Dungeons & Dragons background, and I know that level 1 characters are, notoriously squishy. However, that's not really the case in Veil of the Void. Because of the way that character creation works, you are given a set amount of credits that you have along with a couple of starting items. Now, the thing is, when it comes to these starting credits, you can use those to purchase anything that you want. And at character creation, you are considered proficient with that weapon. Now, this means that one of your early people is going to be, really effective with heavy armor, for example. They might even be able to upgrade that if they would like. They can start with better weapons than the starting weapons. So just something to keep in mind is that your characters are going to be able to take a lot more damage. They're going to be a lot harder to hit, and they're going to be able to hit you quite a bit harder than what you might actually anticipate compared to something like Dungeons & Dragons. Now, this being said, you need to think a little bit more tactically about some of the enemies that you're going to be throwing at your players. Something that is great about this game is that enemies are going to be learning from the party as they are playing. This is what really benefits this game from a long-term format, because they're going to be learning skills, they're going to be leveling up, they're going to be getting new expertise that will give them some additional benefits both in and out of combat. Now, this being said, enemies will be learning from the party. If there's an example that's thrown out in the book that if they have observed that there are 3 powerful spellcasters, then they'll be bringing in some people that are specifically designed to counter magic. That's going to make it a lot harder for those casters. It's a good way to keep your players on their toes, and this is really something that you should keep in mind, especially starting out. So while those early enemies are going to be pretty weak, just remember they can be a lot stronger and a lot scarier the longer that this game goes on. Now, with a science fiction setting, I would also personally really recommend that you start small. Now, this can be said for any kind of homebrewed tabletop game, but I want to really lay this out for you in terms of Veil of the Void. The way that I started my campaign was that, they met up with this mysterious benefactor, and my group was sent to a research station to retrieve an object and then come back. While this was engaging initially, it did buy me a little bit of time to start kind of like fleshing out a little bit more on the initial plan that they started. Now, a mistake that I made was that I gave them a ship way too early. I figured that, we're in a sci-fi setting, I need to let them explore the galaxy. Personally, I would recommend, maybe just sticking to a planet until your players are a little bit of a higher level where they can have the money to buy a good ship. This allows you to really kind of like focus on the nitty-gritty for your campaign, and then you're not having to scramble like I did and come up with the names of different planets and neighboring systems and everything like that. So just remember to start small and really kind of work out the details from there. I know that speaking with the creator of the game, he said, you need to kind of think of a planet more like a country in this game, and then a system is going to be more like your continent. So keep that in mind if you are wanting to run this game. There's not a whole lot of official material that has been published, and this is really just kind of like setting the guidelines for how you're going to be able to run your own game, but there aren't any modules that are out at the time of this recording. Now, another general rule that is in the game is using 6d6. What I mean by this is that if you're not entirely sure on a difficulty check that you want for your players, a very easy way to do this is to do a contested check, meaning that you have them pick their skill, they will roll the assigned number of d6 associated with it, while you as the game master roll 6. Whoever has the most successes, which is a 5 or 6 in this game, wins the contest. This is something that I've actually used very recently, and just something simple like a game of chance, or on an insight check versus an enemy's bluff or something like that. it's just very easy to use on the fly, and it also kind of gives your players a little bit more of a sense of reward rather than just like, I need to hit X number of successes before I know that I actually succeed on this. And really kind of spices things up a bit. Next up is determination. Now, determination is a trait that you get in Veil of the Void that it's kind of an expendable resource. Now, this is something I didn't grasp for the longest time, so to my players, that if you guys are watching this, I'm very sorry for that. I'm glad that we finally managed to get that one under control. But this is kind of a resource that you need to think of it a lot like inspiration in Dungeons and Dragons, at least with 5th edition. I'm not entirely sure how it worked in older ones, but you can reward determination for them, doing awesome stuff, and then you can reset it at any given time. Now, they can use determination to modify some of the numbers on their dice. So they can use it in ways such as they can use a couple of points, and they can change a 4 that they rolled into a 6, meaning that is going to be a guaranteed success no matter what. They can also, if they want to use a lot of points at one time, they can force an enemy to re-roll their check against them, getting an entirely different outcome, which could be very beneficial for your parties. Now, a mistake that I made early on was I thought that this was just something that, like, as long as they had those, they could do that check once a day or whatever. But it is actually a consumable resource. So make sure that as a game master, don't do what I did. Don't just encourage them to hoard it. Have them use that, reward it, throw it out at very regular intervals. It'll make the game a lot more fun for both parties. I would also just encourage you to be very honest with your players. I know when I introduced this game to my group, we were all very new to the system. This was the first we'd really ever heard of it. I had a base understanding of the rules, and I was just honest with them from the get-go that this is going to be a new system. I'm learning. Please just be patient with me. I would highly recommend that you throw this suggestion out for your group as well if this is a game that you end up looking into. And because remember, nobody's going to be getting this entirely right on the first go. And this is a collaborative kind of game. This is a great system for storytelling. But I will say some of the nitty gritty when it comes to combat. Critical strikes are something that I'm still trying to get a grasp on. And I've been running this game for a year and a half. So just be upfront, be honest with your players, and just have that same expectation for them. If there's something that they're confused about, work through it together with them. This is a fantastic game for working together. And lastly, really just have fun. This is a system that there's so much that you can do with it. I know that I've drawn some influences from Mass Effect and Star Wars, and recently I read this really awesome book called The Last Watch that I'm starting to pull some stuff from that as well. There are so many things that you can do with this that it can almost be intimidating. But just remember, at the end of the day, this is a tabletop game and you are here to have fun. So those are going to be the main tips that I have as being a game master for Veil of the Void. If there's anything else that I can give you some tips on, let's talk in the comments, or you can talk to me on Twitter. I absolutely love this game, and I think that it has something very, very special out there, especially for tabletop players that really enjoy a good long-term roleplay experience. I do think that there are some clunky combat mechanics, but there are so many awesome moments that can come from it as well. Have you heard of Veil of the Void? What other games or what other tips would you throw out just in general for tabletop dungeon masters or game masters? So let me know, and please don't forget to subscribe. It really supports my smaller channel, and I truly, truly appreciate it. So until next time, I'll see you then. Bye-bye.